strategically going from one major to another major city. I want to say it's Tokyo. There's
sounds like that. Yeah, that's the common route. So Tokyo to Osaka to Missouri to Kyoto and Nara and that part of the this is the most common route.
That sounds right. That sounds right. Because he said in order for them to pick what they want to do, they would see what they want to see. Yeah, instead of maximizing. Because in the train system, my understanding is very efficient.
It's fantastic. It's like that airport.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know.
It'll take you from Tokyo to Osaka in 4 hours.
Sure.
That's exactly what I was. And for me, I trained in Temple High for maybe like close to 7 years, 7 or 8 years. And I taught it. And I went to a more traditional school in the sense that they were really strict on your etiquette. So we're good at the bowing, the handshake, but then also history. But both Chinese and Japanese people have a mixture of Chinese tattoos and so it has a nice blend of both. So as I've gone through the training, just learning about the history of both countries and how the martial arts plays a role, you start to really develop an appreciation for it, and you start sort of getting good at it. Even right now, I'm practicing jiu-jitsu, and I'm a white belt, I'm a total white belt.
That's very different.
Very different from standing martial arts, very different. But even jiu-jitsu has a Japanese origin. Like, well, Brazilian jiu-jitsu has a very strong origin in Japan.
As a number of my daughters.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to results in Japanese. How are you?
So negotiations, so the Brazil is negotiating.
So like so yeah, I think it's just there's a connection in Japan that transmitting of jiu-jitsu Brazil.
So it's just funny how those connections happen. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go. And my daughter, my older one, she's actually developed curiosity also for picking up what we call it. I think it's weird. So she's actually using big acid to learn Japanese. She's starting to read these books, and they're very interesting. They go from left to or right to left, which to me is like I don't grasp it, but is that how Japanese literature goes? Okay.
Things like
Okay. So yeah, she's not into that. They're English, but the format is. So she's also expressing it. So now she's starting to draw anime pictures. That was funny because when I was that age, actually when I was like 12 or 11, I was running Pokemon. And then I transitioned to Dragon Ball Z.
that's serious going on.
I know. It's impressive how much of those shows Pokemon scary. Pokemon is still relevant. I did not want to do it.
far as investigations goes,
Yeah, okay.
for investigations,
Uh-huh.
we each do a little bit of anything. Right?
Okay.
So like from financial crimes,
Uh-huh.
to property crimes, to more serious felonies, we all have a hand in this.
That means you have to have training in all these
Exactly.
areas and backgrounds.
Exactly. So we have 7 detectives, so each one of our detectives is very proficient in all aspects, pretty much.
They all feel like they're a little bit dirty.
Not at all.
They have to stand up a little
Never.
taller.
Our department's actually really good about that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Always help.
Encourage.
So we have a 3-year rotation.
Oh,
We go back to patrol. So you have a lot of people on patrol that were detectives.
yes, yes. So you have the mentor, mentees.
I heard you used to work at Yeah, wow.
Oh, yes.
Dude, that was. I grew up in
Always
Diamond
there.
Heights.
Dude, did you? Yeah. I was there for 9 years.
Okay.
Great. I was behind the bar. I was a waiter, bartender, all the other. Oh man, the owners were great. They were just so fun, and then they had karaoke, and then
Yeah, those are really Chinese restaurants.
yeah.
Closed years ago.
Yeah, close it. No, but it's still they actually sold it to one of the former employee. Basically, she took it over and basically it was good.
Nice.
They had banquets, and they always had people coming over.
No kidding.
It's a great thing. But I just happened to. It was my next door neighbor that just happened to be one of the managers there. So hey, I need a job. Bartender. I was a busboy, bartender, and stuff like that. But everybody came around, and the people all over, from all over the city. Yeah. Parents still over there?
Foggy.
But I do miss it because I live in this Sunset District now, and I don't get out to. I mean, you have to actually go out to the Diamond Heights to be there.
There's not like, you don't go through.
Yeah, you don't go through it. You go
Yeah,
around
you gotta go to
O'Shaughnessy,
it.
and so But otherwise,
Yeah. Well, you gotta, it's a trip to go anywhere from the sunset.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's going out there.
Yeah.
I asked Pastor if there's going to be a key position start coming in, so he's heading out there to start seeing about that.
Oh, okay.
It might start coming in.
Not that we're, like the other team.
Look at me longingly.
Yeah.
Please, we got you.
How do you want to handle the clicker? Do you want me to manage it? This is a better spot here, so Jerry was telling me that pretty consistent. Clicks were pretty much on point.
Yes, please.
I think you can handle it.
No pressure. I feel the pressure. Just so you know, I feel the pressure.
That's good. You feel the pressure, you should.
Now that I have to click,
So on schedule, on time.
Don't remind you that you say yourself up with
I
that.
spoke on it.
you know what? I don't want to. I don't want the clicker. I think you can handle it. You know, I don't want to be anymore. We'll go get some coffee. Let's go.
Whatever they were gonna do.
Is there any milk?
Yeah, this cream next.
All right, I'm gonna get
Well, you don't drink black coffee anymore?
Oh yeah.
My fast is more right. We get a little.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you can get fancy with it.
That's why he asked. Got it.
Officers, thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, me too.
Alex, nice to meet you.
Yeah, Ronaldo, nice to meet you. Yeah.
I'm one of the youth pastors at this church. Really appreciate your partnership.
Yeah.
Excited to hear.
Glad you guys invited us.
Do you go to a lot of different venues to talk about this?
Yeah, this has actually been like a very popular topic.
Yeah.
Mostly amongst elderly, but
Everyone needs to hear it.
everyone needs to hear it because it affects everybody. There's just a kind of a tailored, tailored version of it for
Certain groups.
elderly and certain groups. Yeah, but it honestly really is. It's for everyone,
That's awesome.
even kids, even teenagers.
Oh yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, especially given both social media, video games.
They're
Yeah,
totally
more so.
tapped in to online. So
Man, actually, that would be really great to hear a version of that too.
Yeah, a youth version.
What other topics do you guys?
I mean, scams are big. Gang stuff for the schools, drug stuff for the schools. Kind of covers it. Mostly, we've done some like really depends on the organization. Like we have an organization that goes into homes to provide like physical therapy for like people who need any kind of speech therapy or physical therapy, and we've gone over like elder abuse, what that looks like in the home because they're going into a lot
And
of
it could be blind. People may not see it.
right. So we talk a little bit about them for things they can look for,
Yeah.
so they can be the initial reporter.
And then you have physical protection and
I don't know how I know that. I don't know a lot about it, but I feel like I do that.
You're right.
There's real basic stuff like that. Yeah. We
About
we
7.5
really,
years.
we're trying to
So
make it
really thank you.
work
Just
with
got to celebrate some
work with
couple, went to
organizations to make it
Korea,
informative. I don't have like a set presentation.
Right.
That's it. That's all we're doing. It's kind of like, well, who are you trying to speak to?
Right, right,
What's the
exactly.
topic? What's the concern?
So you just
See how we can kind of fit into that. It's good. We like your favorite part of the show.
Thank you. No.
so much. So much. I think that I've been
Was it busy
my
this
way
morning?
into trying to get
He's working right now. He's
Actually on call.
Just overtime today.
Oh, okay.
getting to go
but
there
they
and just
get to step out and have
culture
Yeah.
the detective perspective is important. People want to know, like, well, what happens?
Yeah.
Report it. How do you?
What are some of the
investigate?
where does it go to other people? Am I the only person who sees it? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really see.
They were the one that physical watch the Phantom of the Opera.
Good.
Small enough,
Yeah.
big enough, to be effective.
hopefully they can appreciate it at that age.
I think they did. They did. A lot of people walked in, they expected. And it was hot. But they really liked it. They got a lot of miles in for sure.
You're gonna get that new vest. You're gonna buy that new vest.
I'm gonna have to. The Velcro on this thing's like falling apart.
That's awesome.
4 years.
They do. Well, in our city.
What are newer vests?
They like got newer, just new. It's just
Material, yeah.
Yeah, it's more modern. This is more of like a older school style.
yeah. It's like they have like these have like a fixed pockets.
Right.
The new ones have like
You can change it out.
Yeah, it's like set up to
Yeah.
kind of be a little more. You can modify it a little bit more. I don't wear them per se.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's really great. Do you also
A lot of equipment.
It is.
Are you adding equipment too?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't get it. Because you put it, you got room, well, you might as well fill it up.
Yep. No,
More pockets.
At least I think the new vest that we're getting, it's interchangeable, so you can move things wherever you want it to be.
well we have to come to that.
Thank you for messing with me.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in church yourself?
All right, ushers, I'm going to start in a couple minutes. 2 minutes.
Wait till we get back on Tuesday.
And I don't
I
trust
was showing him one of our new moves. It's not really new, but I was we're going to implement. It's called an armbar entry point to a control hold.
Okay. Is it highly complex?
No, it's actually super simple.
Really?
Yeah, super simple. You just
I like simple.
tuck the hand into in between the arm and I guess you say the torso, and then turn it over, and then you just have a lock here underneath his elbow, and then you're just leverage. That's it. That's what you're doing. I don't know.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cumberland Church. My name is Henry, and I'm so happy that you're joining us here at our community event called ScamSmart. Outsmart, Outlast, Outprotect. I have to look at my notes. Well, I see some familiar faces, but some may be from the neighborhood. Wherever you come from, welcome to Cumberland Church. We care deeply about the community, of course, about spiritual lives, but also about practical everyday life. And that's why we are offering this community workshop today, community event, to talk about safety, both online and offline. Just a show of hands, who has almost or been scammed in your lifetime before? Okay, I'm definitely raising my hand because it's the shame of my life. I was in college and I fell for a telephone scam. That's decades ago, and college student is supposed to be smart, right? That's why it's the shame of my life. And so scammers are getting smarter and smarter. The tricks are getting harder and harder to spot. But you know who sees them all? The police department, right? Like when people get scammed, they call them. And so I'm so happy that the Daly City Police Department is willing to partner with us today to offer this community event. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers today up on our stage, starting with Officer Ronaldo.
It's really weird standing on stage and talking into microphones. Not something I was trained for. My name is Ronaldo Rodriguez. Been with Daly City about 4 years. I started in San Francisco in 2016. Lateraled over here about 4 years ago. I grew up in San Francisco, so not generally from the area. I have 2 kids. My son's 18. My daughter's 10. She goes to school in the city. My son just started college. Crazy. I'm on the SWAT team. I've been a community school resource officer for about almost 3 years. I took Randy's spot after he finished up. So I do a lot of these community outreach events. I work very closely with the schools. And it's just, really nice that you guys have hosted something like this and kind of created a platform for just, us to be able to come out and kind of share some of what we see and just hope that it, can help prevent. Because this is one of those things that is really just about prevention, because once it's done, right? So we're happy to be here. And that's my spiel. I'll hand it off to Randy or Detective Ortiz.
Thank you. It's hard to believe he has an 18-year-old because he looks like he just graduated from high school. I'm Randy Ortiz. I am currently a detective with the Daly City Police Department. I'm actually going on 10 years. Time flies when you're having fun. I'm very blessed to be in the position that I'm in and get a chance to do what I do. Married to my wife, high school sweethearts, going on 16 years, 2 kids, 12 and 13. Time goes by too fast, and for those that have kids and are grandparents, time goes really fast. So I appreciate that you have dedicated your time to spend with us. So I want to value your time, and hopefully what we present today will be helpful to you. Like I said, I'm a detective. I was also a school resource officer and 10 years in, so hopefully what we share today will be helpful and a blessing to you. And I'll pass it over to my partner, Alexander Zhang.
Hello guys, what a beautiful Sunday it is. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to see all your guys' faces here as well while we enjoy today. My name is Alex Zhang. I am a detective with the Daly City Police Department. Even though I'm in a uniform today, I'm just helping out some of my partners on the street. But on that, I've been a detective for about 2 years now. Randy's actually gonna be rotating out of our division here pretty soon, and so I will be, I guess, the most senior detective, which is crazy. But unlike my coworkers here, I only have 4.5 years with the Daly City Police Department. It's the first agency I've been with. I've worked the streets for about 2.5 years and then end up coming up to detectives where I worked a lot of financial crimes cases and other investigations as well. But on that, I have no kids. I do have a dog, and I am getting married in January to my fiance. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, we're having a destination wedding in Cabo in Mexico. Yeah. Yeah, not by my choice at all. But without further ado, I think we're ready to start today.
We thought the clicker worked.
Jerry, I promise I'm clicking all right. There we go. All right, so let's get a summary here. So we're going to have some discussion points. So the overview. We're going to go over why should scam awareness matter to you. We're going to talk about how scammers take from people, and we're going to talk about how to prevent yourself and others from being scammed. There we go. Now, why it matters.
Maybe I'll talk about why it matters. Thanks, Randy. So in 2024, scammers scammed approximately, and this is approximate numbers, about $12 billion industry it was in 2024, which is a massive number, right? When you talk about companies that have generated that much money, we're talking about, cell phone companies, you think Apple, you think like NFL, Major League Baseball. You talk about huge, well-known organizations and companies. Well, just to kind of give you an idea, that's how lucrative scamming is, right? And that's a huge reason why it matters, because they're after, our money. It targets all age groups, so I'm happy to see, everybody from very young to older here, which is really nice to see, because everyone is targeted. This is something that is just across all age groups that really doesn't matter, which is kind of nice to see, especially for this. Like we'll go over the gamut of, all the scams that can affect everybody. And then it's gotten a lot harder to detect recently, just because AI, there's, you don't even know what you're looking at on the internet anymore. So, AI can really change the images. It can change what people are saying, and spoofing. I don't know, it's sure everybody here is kind of familiar with it, but it's essentially just being able to create an image and have someone say whatever they want you to say, right? And then self-conscious and guilt and shame and emotions, right? That's a huge part of this, is really what it does, what it can do to people. We've seen some pretty extreme situations where people can really either want to, a lot of times it turns into a self-harm thing because of the amount of money you might lose, or the guilt and shame that it can really create, right?
Now, we couldn't show up today without bringing gifts. So, right now, don't move, don't shift yourself, don't move side to side, just stay where you are. Don't shift your body around, don't reach for it, but everyone, there is an envelope taped underneath your seat. And one of you, whoa, hold on. Some envelopes are going to have $1, some envelopes are going to have $100, and one envelope is going to have $1,000, okay? So, before you reach for it, okay, we want to be in unison when we do this, okay? So you're going to reach underneath, grab the envelope, and the one that has $1,000, I need you to lift it up in the air and let us know. Ready, set, go. If there's no envelope under your chair, it's because you did not win. Nobody got one? No one got one? Ah.
If you guys haven't noticed, Randy is a very big jokester. He loves to play pranks on everybody in the office.
So what just happened?
So this is kind of what just happened to you right now, right? It was excitement, right? There was some level of excitement thinking that you might have won something. Can I agree? Yes? Was there some excitement? So what happens is they want you to really act before you think, right? And we just all reached under our seat. We acted, right? Because we were so excited. It was exciting to think you won something. And we just acted before we really thought, like, why would there be $1,000 under my seat in an envelope? Like, why, right? Now that we're, it's passed, the excitement's passed a little bit, and we're thinking about it, like, oh, why would that happen, right? So it's really like an emotional hijacking that happens, right? Where there's this feeling inflicted, and they want you to act on it, right? And that's what we just did. That was winning, right? So we're talking about what happens in your brain when you think you've won or you think you might win something. Slot machines, anyone? Be honest, it's okay. Some people like to gamble. But that's what it is, right? It's seeking a dopamine release, right? It's your prefrontal cortex is really evaluating your level of success, right? And thinking that it can come is going to activate that, and it's going to trigger a hormone release from your brain, really, right? Which is what happened, which was us. It was a dopamine release from our brain telling into our body, getting us excited to think that we might win, right? And that's what's happening with that initial thought that you might have found something under your seat, right? And then you have fear, right, which is the other side. So there's winning, there's something exciting, right? That's your one side, right? And then you're going to have your fear side, and it's going to be your brain, an adrenaline dump, maybe, right? Release of cortisol from your brain, telling your body that I'm scared, right? It's evaluating threat. The amygdala is evaluating the threat assessment in your brain, saying, ooh, I'm scared. It's that fight or flight, right? So there's going to be two sides. And we just talked about the winning, and now there's the fear, right? And it's an extreme sense of fear. Anyone ever been you can kind of imagine that fear, like it's like a stomach sometimes, almost makes you sick, right? And then helping is a unique aspect because you can help, and that could make you feel very, very good, right? Or there can be some guilt around helping, right? Like, I should really help, and you're almost like made to feel a little bit nervous about it, right? So it can really invoke different aspects, and that's what's happening to yourself when these different scams come up. It doesn't matter what the scam is. That's what's happening in your brain. You're either being made to be very excited, or there's the opposite, and you're made to be very stressed. I keep thinking I need to pass the mic back to Randy.
So with the knowledge we have now with how the brain works and some of the scams that we have seen, we want to narrow it down to just two things. So we're going to have the scams that stimulate the areas of your brain that releases adrenaline or cortisol. We'll call that fear, stress. And then we have the part of the brain that's stimulated in a way to release dopamine. The chemicals are going to make you feel good if X, Y, and Z happens, similar to what we just experienced earlier with the envelope exercise. Now, the emotional tactics that these scammers use all revolve around the quickness of grabbing that part of your brain. And they'll do so by making you feel like there's an act of urgency, like you need to do it now. You need to do it now, or you're going to lose this particular thing forever. They'll say things like, we only have 2 spots left, or there's only this many left, or you only have this much time. And you'll see these with the common tactics such as the fake IRS calls, or people identifying themselves as police officers contacting you over something that you have no idea what it's about. And it's a big red flag when they say they have a warrant for your arrest and you need to pay this. That's not how it works. If there's a warrant for your arrest, we're probably not going to tell you we're going to go look for you. So just so you're aware, there's no get out of jail free card by paying over the phone. So fake IRS, police, or the banks, bank phone calls or bank emails. And Officer Rodriguez has a slide later on how you can identify fake emails from scammers that are identifying themselves as banks. Now, you also have the social proof. And by that, I mean, everyone's doing it, so this must be okay. And we're going to go into that with the cryptocurrency scams and other financial scams. But it's like, well, everyone's talking about crypto. Everyone's talking about investments. Everyone fill in the blank. And now there's this social pressure where it's like, well, it's popular, so this must be right. And then there's also the fear aspect, going back to gravitating towards that part of your brain, which is they're going to make you feel like you're in trouble, someone you love is in trouble, someone you know is in trouble, and if you don't do X, Y, and Z now, something bad's going to happen to them. And then there's also the scams that involve gifts that turn into something more later progressively, and we'll go into that, but just want to give an overview.
So like Detective Ortiz mentioned, there's various types of scams, and it's today's modern age. It's they're very complex and they're very well thought of. Some things that I think he just mentioned were you get contacted by the police over the phone saying you have a warrant, right? And like we all know, if we're looking for you, we're not going to tell you that we're going to look for you, all right? We're just going to find you. There's no amount of money that I can pay to try to get out of getting into custody with the police, right? But in other forms of scams, you have people calling you over the phone, acting like they're IRS. You haven't paid your taxes, or we haven't received your tax payment. The FBI is going to look for you, etc. You know, there's various types of scams that are very complex and they're very believable nowadays. Some common scams over the phone consist of impersonation, like I just mentioned. Hello, is this whoever you are? This is the IRS, you haven't paid your taxes, or this is the FBI, we have a warrant out for your arrest. Or sometimes they even might try to impersonate a family member, right? In other occasions, you might get a call from Google, Microsoft, Apple, whatever. They're asking you to purchase gift cards to basically send over to them, right? And it's believable. They're going to tell you you have a virus on your computer. They're going to say, go purchase a gift card, send it to us. We're going to fix the virus on your computer. And it's a little bit more old school, but it's still out there. You also have prize scams. And I think, like Officer Rodriguez pointed out, the excitement of winning something sometimes clouds our minds, and we think that we actually won something, right? We won a new iPad, a new car, a new iPhone, you know, something just beyond amazement. And we tend to not focus on logic sometimes because we're so amazed and we're so excited to go win something. And now that we've seen nowadays is AI is very complex, right? Someone can generate an AI voice, they can generate a believable person to make you think that they're an actual person and can kind of convince you in that kind of way. As I mentioned earlier, some common language that you're going to hear from these scammers posing as a government entity. Hello, we're the IRS, you owe money to us. If you don't give us money, you will be deported. We will contact the local police department, we will contact the local sheriff's office, they're going to get a warrant out for your arrest, right? And for most of us here, other than, you know, us three, we're not too familiar with how law enforcement works. We're not too familiar with how court proceeding works, right? So sometimes if someone says, hey, we're going to get a warrant out for your arrest, we're going to contact a local law enforcement agency to come and arrest you, it can sound scary, and we are in fear of that because none of us want to go to jail at the end of the day, especially for something that we don't know anything about, right? So we might fall into that kind of trap. Another form of scams is tech support scam. And yeah, briefly, but just sharing a personal story about tech support. When I was a kid, I loved to play computer games. I loved to play it all the time. Oftentimes when you go on a computer website and a pop-up might appear on your screen and say your computer is infected with a virus, or purchase this security plan to protect your computer, right? I've fallen victim to that. And it's not anything that we should feel ashamed of. It's truly, it's an honest mistake. It seems believable, and it's okay to fall. It's not okay to fall victim to it, but this is just be aware of it, okay? So pop-up warnings like your computer is infected, contact tech support, allowing someone access into your computer so they can take control of your computer. That actually does happen. And they're gonna demand payments to fix your computer through that way. Just know that if there is something truly wrong with your computer, you're not gonna get a call from Apple or Microsoft or Google saying like, hey, we noticed that you have an issue with your computer. Pay us money right now and we can fix it via our end. It's not like that. You still have to bring your computer to Apple, Google, Microsoft, where it is to get it fixed, right? And they have millions and billions of devices out there that how are they going to know that your device is infected, you know? So just keep that in mind when you do get a notification like that. Common internet scams, right? You get phishing emails. We have something in the city of Daly City where the city sends out believable emails to our employers over here saying, yeah, they're the absolute worst. But they'll say like, oh, we just noticed that you have missing vacation time and we're here to give you 100 hours of vacation time, you know? Sounds amazing, right? Feeds into our excitement of, hey, we're gonna get free vacation time. We click it, boom, oops. You fell victim, now you're gonna take an 8-hour training, you know? Yep. But just know that phishing emails are very common. And it'll come from anyone. It'll say Apple support, Toyota, Honda, you name it, they'll try to scam you out of it, okay? Romance scams, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit. Online lovers, for those that are, I don't know, using Match.com or whatever dating websites out there, right? Christian Mingles, yep. Good one, Randy. Exactly, right. Exactly, yep. Great point, yep. AI nowadays, it's scary. I don't know if we've seen those online videos of, they look like real people and they're doing like some of the craziest things in the world. We don't know that, right? But that's a really good point. AI nowadays is super advanced, it's very complex, that it could be a fake person and you believe it's real and you fall victim to it. Investment scams. Nowadays, a lot of our finances is online and via the web, especially Bitcoin, investments online, you name it, everything's online pretty much, right? People will take advantage of that. They'll try to get your passwords, they'll try to scam you out of your bank account numbers, etc., right? Also online shopping scams, right? I have Instagram, I have social media. Sometimes I'll go on social media and they'll hinder to your needs, right? Whether it be clothing, cars, whatever, right? Looks good, says it's super cheap. You click on it, oh cool, I'll buy it, right? And then next thing you know, you never get the package, right? So things are very complex and very sophisticated nowadays. This is an example of a phishing email, right? So if we look over here, Bank of America, right? It looks pretty legitimate if we can agree. But some things to really notice about this is, first and foremost, look at the email address from Bank of America, right? Why would Bank of America have Comcast.net or a weird email like that sending it to you? And this is just, I'm not saying every Bank of America email is gonna look like this, or any phishing email is gonna look like this, but this is just an example. Pay attention to who the sender is, and on top of that, look at who it's to. Sometimes it won't have, sometimes they'll do a mass email to a bunch of different email addresses. And another is look at who they're addressing the email to, right? Dear member, very general. Do you think if they're trying to talk to you directly that they would have your name on it? And a lot of times when banks try to get your attention, they'll usually send it via mail, old school still. Please sign into your account. They'll have you click the link, bankofamerica.com. Sometimes it might not even direct you to Bank of America. It's going to direct you to their own website where they can extract information from your computer and any other kind of information that you have stored on your devices.
So then we go into the grandparent scam. How many grandparents in the room? Just show of hands, grandparents? Okay. Who here has a grandparent? Okay, so this is relevant for both parties. So you have people that will intentionally target grandparents and pose themselves as someone connected to their grandchild. So they may actually know the person by name, or they may say things to allude that they know who your grandchild is. But some things to keep in note. They're going to say things like, they were just in a car accident. I'm trying to help them get a tow. They need money now in order to be able to get off the road safely. Or, so-and-so just got arrested, and they need money to get out of jail. Or now with AI, they may also pose as such person and say that they are in jail and they need to get bailed out. Or they need help because of X, Y, and Z. Now, what emotion do you think they're triggering right now? Are they triggering your happy one or your stressful one? Right. So now you have that emotion going up, and it may cause you to start acting for good reason. We want to help. We want to take care of our loved ones. But if we take a second to think back, unless you actually have someone who is getting arrested regularly, think back like, wait a minute, why would my family member be getting arrested? Or where are they right now that would lead them to be where they are now and they need money fast? Reasonable questions. And I could add probably another 5 or 6 different questions you could ask yourself. But a blanket response to this moment is to pause. Because realistically, what is the rush? Okay, what is the rush? Someone's calling you. The rushing part is probably over if anything has happened. Realistically. So what is the rush? They want to stimulate the rush. Now, I'm not saying hang up the phone and assume every single phone call like that is going to be fake. Let's trust and verify. So, some ways we do that. Let's call someone we know as a second party, third party that can verify what we might be hearing, or ask them questions that only your family member or loved one would actually know. Let's trust and verify. Because in the long run, if this phone call doesn't line up with what you know about your family member, this could very well be an attempt to scam you. Because the grandparents are targeted because they are, for the most part, they're visited every so often. They're not aware of the day-to-day of their grandchild, but they're also a grandparent. They love their grandkids. By default, there's not going to be any questions asked if your grandchild is asking you for help. And they know that. And they know that. So take a second to pause and see if you can verify what you're listening to. And don't jump into addressing the problem right away. Again, we're trying to separate ourselves from the emotional response that we're getting at that moment so that we can make good decisions. So now romance scams. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting. All right. These have become more common in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, especially with the uptick of dating networks. And the way this works is either through one of those dating networks, or it could very well be an online platform where you're chatting with someone. But there are literally people that spend their entire day searching for people online that are willing to communicate with them and start a romantic relationship. And they have a lot of patience. They have a lot of patience. They start by building a rapport. They start by starting conversations. And then eventually leads to a favor of a few dollars here, a few dollars there. They might even invest in you for a moment and send you a gift card to Starbucks and make you think like, oh, I'm on the receiving end. And then when they start asking for something, now they're on the receiving end. And then we continue on with this relationship, and it turns into like, I want to come visit you, but I can't afford to come to you. Can you pay for my flight ticket? Well, there's some money exchange. That money's gone. I can't make the trip. I'm sorry. I'm going to make it the next time. And the conversation will go on and on and on and on and on until you're losing more and more and more. Now, the reason why this one's a little more touchy than the others is because This one's touching on an area of our mind where we fear loneliness. We're afraid of being alone. We're afraid of not being wanted. And these scammers are taking advantage of that by utilizing verbiage that makes you feel like you have a connection with someone. Because by nature, we want connection. Whatever that means to you, but by nature, we want connections. We want healthy relationships. We want people in our lives. And usually, the people that are trying to be scam, or the people that are trying to scam, are usually people that are living by themselves. They don't have a community, and this seems like an out for that particular person they're targeting. And people will be out tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars over time because of where these conversations lead. So romance scams, while they are not as common when they happen, they're very serious. And the reason why I say they're not as common is because going back to what was mentioned earlier, how open would somebody be to report this? There's the shame, the embarrassment that comes with that. And believe us, in our line of work, we have seen and heard it all. So there's really nothing that's going to make us look at you and laugh at you. We want to help. We want to figure things out with you. And if it happens to you or your loved one, it's going to be important to try to figure out if we can put a stop to it, for one. And then second, if we can hold them accountable to figure out, okay, let's see how long this has been going on. But this is one of those where you may not even know what's happening to your family member or your loved one because of that shame or guilt. So it's good to be aware. One, for you, but then also for those around you. So romance scams, they happen.
Looking for love in all the right places? Like popular dating sites, mobile apps, and social networking sites? Ron seems like a perfect match for you. He's thoughtful and says he can't live without you. He says he's from the US but works out of the country. He says he wants to visit but says he can't afford it. He asks you to send him money. Last month it was medical bills for his sick aunt. This month he needs money to fix his car. Next month, who knows? Ron wants your money. Don't send it. The person pretending to be Ron is a scammer. He'll tell you anything to get you to wire cash right away. He'll never run out of excuses. If an online love interest asks you for money, walk away, no matter how compelling the story. Report scams at ftc.gov/imposters.
That website will be up also towards the end of the slide. Now, we will have Q&A, so we're somewhat making you drink out of a fire hydrant right now. But at the end, there will be an opportunity to ask questions so we can clarify some things that you may have going through your mind with some of these topics. So now the next one is the fake jewelry swap. Now, just show of hands, has anyone here or anyone you know been a victim of a jewelry swap scam where someone comes up, offers you jewelry, and ends up taking the jewelry that's on your persons? All right, no show of hands. So this is good information to know because the ones that are targeted the most are usually those that are 50 and over. So the way these work is you have a group of people that are not local. They're referred to as nomadic travelers. So they're not from the area. They're moving from place to place to place, and they're driving through the neighborhoods, and they come off as normal-looking people. And when I say normal-looking people, meaning they're not masked up, hooded up, and trying to rob you. They look like a middle-aged woman and a middle-aged man, usually. I haven't seen teenagers do this. I think it's too sophisticated for them, for those that go into criminal activity. But these people will drive, they'll see a target, and they'll approach. And here's where it gets interesting. They approach in a very, very nice way, like, hi, my name is so-and-so. Can I show you something? And then they'll come close, and they're like, oh, and then they'll see jewelry on you. And then, as they come close, they'll take your hand, and they'll put something on you, like a bracelet or a ring. And then in the meantime, they are grabbing your jewelry off of you. Then they leave. And you don't realize what's happened until maybe maybe a few seconds into it, or until later when your spouse or your friend realizes, like, hey, what happened to your Rolex? What? Right. Yeah, you won't know if it's real or fake, right?
Buy a fake one, you know that?
Yeah, oh yeah. just out of spite, I would do that, just to let them target me, be like, here, go ahead. But that's how it works. Now, the reason I wanted to break the wall here and come out to you is because you want to recognize when someone is breaking your space. I spoke with some of you before the presentation started. I taught martial arts for about 7 years, and I taught kids as young as 5. Such a fun age. Attention span, but a lot of energy, right? And then students in the ages of 60s and up. Now, the thing that applies to all ages across the board is understanding boundaries and personal space, right? Like we teach that to our kids. We teach that to our relatives. And what I taught with our instructors over and over again is if you can kick them, they're too close. If you can kick them, they're too close. So if you're in a public space and someone is trying to approach you and they're getting into the proximity where you can kick them, they're way too close. And that should start, like earlier, red flags, right? That's a red flag. Something's going on here, and we need to make a decision of what's going to happen next. Now, this is not a martial art class. It's not a self-defense class, so I don't want to go too far into this rabbit hole. But the main thing is, like, recognize that there's a boundary that you want to have, and if someone's breaking that boundary, regardless of what the body language suggests, something's off. And remember, they're going to come off like they're nice, they're gentle and approachable, and they're coming and they're breaking that barrier. So something's off. So the fake jewelry swap works just like that. They will approach, they look nice and approachable, they're breaking your boundary, and they're offering you a gift. Who offers people's gifts? Realistically, right? Not that I want you to be overly suspicious of every generous person, but realistically, who's going to go out of their way to get out of their car to give you a gift? So those are the telltale signs that I hope you will recognize and you can pass on. And big cue is if they're breaking that barrier, something is off.
But what they want, they give you the gift, but they walk away, then?
They will put a fake gift on you, and they will take your real jewelry. So they're targeting for your real jewelry.
They can actually swap.
Yeah.
That fast?
Yes. I wish I could tell you how they know how to do it that well, but it's very quick. It still happens now. It happens in Chinatown, but also happens in Daly City, happens in Oakland, happens in wherever you have a demographic that's 50 and over that's wearing jewelry, they're going to be targeted. This is pretty much the same, but this is another one that's a little bit more complex. So other than the fake jewelry swap, so earlier Detective Zhang mentioned phone conversations where people are going to tell you to pay them over the phone with gift cards. Now, there's other situations where people are going to convince you to go to the bank and withdraw money. In fact, I think you had a case with this one, right? Do you want to touch on this one where they were convincing the person to withdraw money? They would come pick it up. They were extorting them.
Oh, yes. Yes. So this happened about last year. Our victim in this case, she was actually a preschool. She owned a preschool. She was cold called by our suspect who said that he worked for the FBI or some other government agency, and basically that she owed X, Y, and Z for taxes, and if she did not pay up the correct amount, there would be a warrant for arrest, and they would send the local police department out to go arrest her. Her being in fear and not being familiar with how the law actually works, she fell victim to it, and it's not on her. It's these people are very believable. And so what had happened was the day prior, the courier came. She provided thousands of dollars to him. He left with the money. She realized something was off, contacted us. We started the investigation and noticed that there was, obviously we knew it was fake, but we noticed that there was a trend in their behavior, that they were targeting different individuals. And so with her assistance, we had the courier come back the following day to collect another envelope of over thousands of dollars inside the envelope. The courier came, and before he was able to collect the funds, we intercepted him and we were able to take him into custody. He later said that he had met some random guy at a restaurant in Fremont. He said, "Do you want to make some money?" He said, "Yes." The guy tells him to go to an address to pick up an envelope for him, and lo and behold, it was our victim's address, and he picked up thousands of dollars, right? Now, whether he's telling the truth or not, it doesn't matter, because ultimately he was placed under arrest for that, and he was actually convicted because we just went to a court case for that. But like Detective Ortiz is trying to point out, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good, right? Don't believe it, especially like we mentioned earlier. If we're looking for you and telling you that there's going to be a warrant out for your arrest, it's not the case, right? We won't tell you that. So just be aware of that. Should be your first red flag, is if someone threatens, a government agency says that we're going to send the local police department to come and arrest you, definitely not true. That should be your red flag. That's where you hang up the phone and discontinue the conversation altogether.
And so that ties into what this slide is. So that's basically what this is right here. So a family caregiver scam, we'll roll into that next. So not to go too far into this one, because we've so much touched on it, but you have caregivers and family members and close friends that will ultimately, sadly, take advantage of our victims in these cases. So I want to bring this up because I don't know where everyone here is in their stage of life, or where the people in their lives are that might be in this age group where they need care. They need to be cared for because of a disability, a health condition, a mental condition that's making it hard to cognitively make it through the day-to-day. So you do have people that get taken advantage of. So the reason we want to touch on this one is because you may not be in that position, but someone around you might be, and it happens very, very subtly. It happens very, very subtly. So this is more for general awareness, and there's going to be a video that's going to touch on it a little bit deeper. So this is just more for general awareness. But you may have a business that seems credible, but not every employee will live up to the mission statement of every company. And you're going to have that one that's going to go in there and see an opportunity, what they think is an opportunity. And that may involve stealing actual money. That may involve writing false checks, or that may even go as far as taking ownership over their home, their car, or some other property because of the condition that person's in. So there is a video that's going to go into that more. So I just wanted to highlight that sometimes the person that's victimizing the victim is someone close.
Patricia King was a widow who was living alone in East Palo Alto. She was diagnosed with dementia. Miss King was 88 years old in 2008 when her niece, Miss Remmert, moved in with her. It was helpful to her at the outset to have her niece living with her because it was somebody to help her out around the house and keep her company. What she started to do was slowly consolidate her aunt's financial accounts, and she also had her aunt sign a quitclaim deed to her home, transferring ownership of the home from Miss King to Miss Remmert, the offender. Miss Remmert's cousins were becoming increasingly concerned about their aunt because of the isolation of Miss King that Miss Remmert was imposing. She was making it increasingly difficult for family members to come and visit.
Shirley began to isolate my aunt by becoming more limiting of the family, and also of her friends and church members of coming to see my Aunt Pat.
Shirley Remmert had changed the locks on the exterior fence surrounding the home and had changed the locks on the home itself. So family members could no longer gain access to the home.
I had called my aunt and I let her know that I was coming. I called the police. Okay, all I want to do is see Auntie Pat. I don't care. And Shirley called the police and asked that the police remove me from the house.
There were multiple parties that made reports to Adult Protective Services expressing concern about Miss King's welfare. One of the reports came from the bank where she had a checking account. She went to the bank on 4 occasions and she made 4 $10,000 withdrawals. The amount of those withdrawals combined with how close in time they all were caught the bank's attention, and Bank of America made a report to Adult Protective Services that these were suspicious transactions on an elder's account and asked Adult Protective Services to look into them.
A social worker who's described as a deputy public guardian who does just financial abuse cases became involved in the case because of the financial allegations.
They phoned Miss Remmert in advance and they made arrangements to meet up with her, with Miss Remmert, at Miss King's house. The deputy public guardian made the decision to reach out to the East Palo Alto Police Department and ask them please to send an officer as a civil standby to simply provide safety and make sure that things at the home went as smoothly as possible.
She kind of gave me a brief of who she was going to talk to and why she was going to talk to her. I knew we had something a little more than just a civil standby. She had some substantial evidence and information.
When they went to the residence, they found Shirley there with Aunt Pat. The deputy public guardian had a very pointed and direct conversation with Shirley about the nature of the financial improprieties that they were aware of based on Pat's financial documents. And Shirley was taken aback, to say the least.
Miss Remmert was nervous, she was inconsistent. At that point, she threw her hands up and said, I liquidated the money.
What?
It's in my room.
And at that point, I escorted her to her bedroom. She then pulled out a box of money. In the end, after counting, it was about $80,400. Due to Miss Remmert's inconsistencies with her answers, and finally showing us the money that she did liquidate, I arrested her.
Most financial elder abuse investigations are complex, and we generally advise law enforcement to gather their evidence and then consult with the district attorney's office to see what the next steps are before taking a suspect into custody. But in this particular case, the fact that the quick-thinking East Palo Alto Police Department apprehended Miss Remmert on the spot was crucial to our ability to not only preserve the cash that was seized from the home, but also to freeze the home and execute a search warrant, and a tremendous amount of crucial documentary evidence was discovered. This document over here, it says quit claim deed. When you signed this, did you believe that you were giving away your house?
Oh no, I'm not giving away my house.
The fact that the victim of a crime has dementia shouldn't necessarily indicate to you that that person cannot be a witness, and an important witness in their own case. Do you want to continue to own your house until you die?
When I die, my people divide my house.
These are the kinds of cases that are nuanced. They typically involve very complex family dynamics that have taken decades to evolve and are only getting worse as time progresses. So if there's history with that family, Adult Protective Services will be able to provide that to you while you're in the field. And that situation that's in front of you that you're looking at is going to look really different through the lens of all of that information than it does when you're just standing on the porch with someone trying to figure out whose paperwork is more legitimate than whose.
At the end of the jury trial, Ms. Remmert was convicted of multiple felonies, and the trial judge sentenced her to 7 years and 4 months in the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The cash that had been seized from the home was released back to the victim, and the judge signed an order voiding the deed and returning Miss King's home to its rightful owner.
So that's a great ending to a tragic situation that was taking place, and just wanted to share that that's not always the outcome. So with us here, the awareness that we're getting and just thinking about certain family members, one way that this is avoided is relationships with their family members and just knowing what's going on, especially with our grandparents and our elderly family members. But great outcome for this particular situation.
So as we mentioned earlier, some new and emerging threats in our modern times is AI, like we've all been talking about a lot lately. AI, deep fake scams, fake videos or voice messages that you guys see online or that actually reach out and contact you. Other things to watch out for are QR codes, malicious QR codes and flyers or emails, or even in the mail, right? When you get a mail and it's from a bank and it tells you to scan a QR code and somehow it brings you to another page on the bank. Those are all things to watch out for. Job scams, right? I think especially now in our economy, there are some people that are desperate for a job. There are people that take advantage of that desperation. And a lot of times people who actually get scammed in a job end up losing more than they gain, especially if it's a situation where a human trafficking aspect might be involved in it as well. And I'm not saying human trafficking as in like they're gonna kidnap you, bring you to somewhere else. No, this is more like labor trafficking, right? They use you for labor and obviously don't compensate your time and the services that you provided. Fake two-step authentication apps or pages, tricking you to relog in twice. I think there's certain websites, applications, even your bank account that'll require two-step authentication process. Just be very, very cautious when it comes to those things.
Like Officer Ortiz said, it's like this was a lot. There's a lot of information, a lot of different scams. I really want to express that I don't want everyone here focusing on, oh, I remember that one scam that they talked about. They're all very similar, okay? And how to mitigate getting scammed is really gonna have to do with self-awareness, right? And understanding that every single one of those scams, the elder abuse video that we just watched, that's a little bit different because that's someone who's cognitively not present. But for us who are, right, it's gonna be that they're all gonna trigger an emotional response, right? They're all going to push us to make us either scared or excited. Whether it's excited to help or scared to help, right? It could be, they can bring us and swing us on the pendulum on both sides, right? And understanding how can we stop ourselves from getting so excited about winning something or being so scared to help our friends or grandkids, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's that delay, right? We have to come down from that high. Our brain is so excited or so in fear that we have to understand how excited we are and how afraid we are so we can come down from that to make logical decisions, right? So pausing is gonna be big, right? Letting logic catch up, meaning, wow, I am noticing that I'm very happy right now that someone wants to date me, right? Maybe I need to I can be excited, but maybe I just need to, put this phone down for a minute and, let it sink in, right? Give that time to pause. Not engaging, right? That sometimes some of us are more skeptical than others, right? And when you realize that, something is not right on this phone call or this email, delete, hang up, right? And that's us noticing that, this is too good to be true, right? And Randy touched on it, but really talking to your friends, talking to, your community is gonna be one of the biggest ways to combat this, right? Communicating with people and telling other people. Sometimes, something seems like, okay, maybe this person does want to date me. And then you start telling your friend about it, and they're like, But that's that keeping that open communication with, someone in your life, right, to verify that. Awareness is going to be our strongest defense, right? Everyone is different. Some people are going to be more susceptible to wanting to win. Some people don't care about winning. Some people want to help more, right? Some people just want to fix things, right? Like, oh, something's wrong with my computer, or something's wrong with my bank account. I better hurry up and fix it, right? And that's just how we're wired, right? And understanding that these scammers are going to tailor things to you, right? Like Detective Zhang mentioned, there was someone who owned a business. You think people that own businesses are probably worried about making sure their taxes are in order? Yeah, right? So being aware of some of those things can really help and make it, harder to kind of get in and invoke that response, right? Some of the resources, Daly City Police Department we are a great resource. We're happy to come out and be that verification, like, hey, this is what's happened. Someone's called me about this. This is there's a 911 number and a non-emergency. I should really make that font bigger. It's so tiny. But we're a great resource if someone wants to call and utilize us as that person, like, hey, I think I'm being scammed, please, yes, that is absolutely fine. Preventing and reporting. So this is part of the education aspect, but really it's you talking about it amongst each other. I know there's been a DMV scam going around on your cell phones messages, right? Hey, I have Fast Track, and there's a Fast Track one, like, hey, your Fast Track bill hasn't been paid. I was like, oh, that's very possible that hasn't happened, right? But then I'm a cop, so it was like, oh, this is crazy. You guys, might not, right? There's a lot of people that you click that link and it brings you to a page and you're reasonably think this could happen. But being suspicious, confirming and verifying, talking, and communicating with other people. It's amazing how one person in your life that you can verify with is sometimes all you need, right? Is just telling that one other person, hey, this is what's going on, what do you think, right? Or calling that source. If it's the DMV, then go to the DMV. If it's a bank, go to the bank. If it's Apple, go into Apple, right? There's ways that we can mitigate this, right? And understanding, go ahead, Randy, next one. Aging Adult Services, this is a great resource. We can provide all this for you. This is something we wanted to touch on just as a kind of resource aspect, but these scammers are really, it's really a psychological kind of warfare that's going on, right? That is catering their pitch to your personality, right? They're often, I had a friend who's a nurse, she got called talking about revoking her license, right? They know who they're calling often. They know who they're contacting. So kind of really what we want to touch on with all these scams is we don't want you to remember any of these scams. We really want you to really understand that this is a feeling that they're trying to invoke, and they want you to act on it while you're scared, while you're happy, right? And nothing is that urgent. Nothing's that urgent, right? We have time. We can pause, but they're really playing mind tricks, right? And we want you to be kind of aware of those, right? Being cautious, but not paranoid, right? Talking to family, again, checking in with each other is going to be huge. When things feel off, it's probably off. And when in doubt, verify with a trusted source. But really, it's a pause that really needs to happen, right? And I want to kind of drive that point home. We can all just stop what we're doing, wait, give yourself 5 minutes, give yourself 10 minutes, give yourself an hour, call someone, think about it, and you'll probably come to the realization very quickly after you've come down from that dopamine high or being very afraid that what's actually happening, right? So that's kind of how we want to wrap this up and end it, is really, it doesn't matter what the scam is, it doesn't matter what they're trying to sell you, or what organization is asking you to wire them cash or get gift cards and send them in the mail. It doesn't matter. It's about just a little self-awareness, understanding when we get excited or when we get scared, right? It's just like being, in an argument or someone in your wife or husband. Give a minute, take a breather, right? Go for a walk. You come back and you realize, oh wow, I'm not so worked up anymore, and I can make a logical, reasonable decision, right? So taking that pause is going to be big thing for just across the board. But that wraps it up.
That pretty much wraps it up. What I will do is I will put this back on the slide with the phone numbers and the websites. I'll hold it up here for about 10 seconds. If anybody wants that, you can take a picture of it now. And then I'll switch over to the next slide, and then we'll transition to Q&A. I know that was like drinking out of a fire hose. Perfect. Okay. So I'll leave it here then, and I will pass this off.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I guess raise your hand. We got a microphone out there.
Yeah, make yourself comfortable. Anyone needs coffee? We have plenty of coffee runners here. Anyone want coffee for Q&A?
I'll get some after, because if I have another cup, I'm going to be wired up here.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Detective Randy, Officer Ronaldo, and Detective Alex. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned AI. I think with AI, the quality of the content is all higher these days, right? Like in the old days, you have typos and certain words get uppercase, in a strange way, and you spot those easily. Like these days, sometimes they are pretty smart, right? I always tell my wife, just assume it's false and try to prove that it's right rather than the other way, right? Is that,
Yeah, that's the verification, right? It's like.
All right, so we're now gonna go to the Q&A session. I think some of you have submitted questions, but we figure maybe it's just easier to, to pass the mic around. If you raise your hand, someone will give you this.
We can share that one.
Okay.
I'll bring it out to the audience.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's easier just if you speak your question, and someone would bring the mic to you. And so, okay, we got the first. Oh, okay, Edie.
Hello.
Next. Someone has a mic already. Okay. Hi, Anna.
Hi, thank you, officers, for coming. I wanted to ask, there's been, a couple months ago, there had been a scare in which I know that on the news it was reported that an individual had a home invasion due to someone impersonating a police officer and they're coming into the home. I was wondering, how are we able, if someone claiming to be a police officer were to come to our home, how would we verify that they are actually law enforcement and not a scam artist?
That's a good question, right? First steps would be, so we covered two kinds of scams, right? We did our scams that you can be contacted, like online, and then you have your in person, right? And I think Detective Ortiz really speaks on something when he talks about personal space, right? And being in your home is your personal space, but what you have in your home is that great doors with locks, right? And you can utilize those to create that distance and maintain that space, right? So when you're talking about someone in person, if you ever have the ability to keep them away from you, that's number one. So you're talking about being in your home, we're leaving your door locked, right? And to verify if the police are coming, whenever we either go somewhere in Daly City, or if sometimes we do police operations outside of Daly City, we always contact the local dispatch, right? And imagine a big map with a dot that has a different number on it for every officer, right? So when we go out to an address, say we go to your house, 123 Main Street, we use our radio and we tell them our call sign and we say we are going to 123 Main Street. Now that dispatcher puts a digital dot on a digital map that says this is where this officer is at this moment in time and what they're doing, right? We tell them who we are, what we're doing, and where we are, right? So if someone does approach your house, there is a dispatcher somewhere, and if it's in Daly City, then it's going to be a Daly City dispatcher that's going to know who and what they're doing at your house. So you could easily call 911 and say, hey, I think I have a police officer at my front door. Can you check? And they can, in fact, do that. Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
I have a case just last week, and I need the officer come here to see. I do got many years. I always got really stressed about the IRS. They send me something, and
We can take a look at it after. So did the IRS attempt to?
see, yeah, that's what I hand out, and I did not get in.
Okay, so it looks like the IRS sent her something in the mail, and you want to like verify and make sure it's real. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's, but I found out that's a scam.
I see. Yeah, I mean there is a California.gov email address, but this is something that you could bring to a police station, you know? If there's something that they're sending in the mail that you don't believe is actually from someone, that could be some sort of like phishing scam, and that is absolutely something that you could bring to a police department and say, hey, do you think this is real? Is there a way you can verify this? You know, and we'd look at a lot of documents and are pretty good at figuring out whether or not something is actually from the IRS or
Okay.
not. And the IRS does typically send things in the mail, though.
Yeah, what I do is I use one of your token, and I call my financial doing the tax accountant. Then I say, hey, I got this. Can you help me check? And then that's the conversation he gave it to me. He said, let me check. After 2 hours, he said, no, that's a scam.
Yeah,
We
well,
don't
I
have
think what
that.
you did was right because, you know, we get provided, you know, emails and phone numbers, and it's hard to, you can't verify that when it's not in person, right?
Yeah,
Which is why,
it's really hard. And you call, and last year I got the two, the year before I got the two, and I tried to call the IRS. Was so stressful, so stressful. They don't answer your phone, and then I thought, what's wrong with my text?
yeah, no, I think that's a great example. Running that by a police department or going directly to the agency, right, would be the other option. If the IRS is trying to contact you, going directly towards them, right, going directly to the IRS and speaking with someone.
It's really hard to contact. I have to, even though so stressful, I have to take the day off, stuck there, and the whole day to call them and wait for them to check your, find out, like that. You only need to do that.
Yeah, that is what they're trying to do, right? They want to stress you out to act in that stressful moment. But you stopped, right? And you asked yourself, is this real? And you showed other people. Yeah. Those are all the things that we're talking about doing, right? And verifying.
What you
verifying
tell me.
that.
Don't act like a call somebody else.
Stop. Talk to someone else. Anyone else. Police are good people to talk to. In Daly City, we show up. It's not. Yeah, it's not like, you know, San Francisco is very, very busy and probably won't show up if you want to, you know, show them an IRS document, right?
Go Daly City. Woo!
But we can probably do that for you.
All
or
right.
you can walk into the station.
Anyone else? All right.
I have a similar concern as Edie did. There are a lot of little things, okay, not IRS or whatever, but maybe like, oh, you have a data breach and you can claim blah, 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 compensation or whatever. And lately I have developed a friendship with a new friend, ChatGPT. So I like your opinion. So what I do is I copy that email or scan something and then post it to ChatGPT and please help me check to see if this is legit. And they're very fast. They'll come back and say, based on these addresses, it looks like, yeah, there is a data breach. They are compensating. It looks legit. We double check, blah, blah, blah. So tell me, is that a good practice? I mean, going to
AI
the Daily
against
City
AI.
going to the
I'm
police,
impressed.
going to the police seems, really extreme. And Social Security Office, DMV, I mean, you cannot get an answer for a day, right? So do you suppose ChatGPT might be a good first line consultant?
So ChatGPT, and I am not like a very good person with computers. I probably wouldn't be doing this job if I was, because I'd be in the tech industry making a lot more money. But ChatGPT is, AI is these created platforms with this code that is input, right, to kind of be convincing in different ways, right? And it's written in different AI platforms have different codes. Some AI platforms are like created for corporate blackmail, right? And some AI codes like ChatGPT are created to kind of just be more convincing to help people with whatever it is that they think they need an answer for. I wouldn't run things through ChatGPT to verify, right? ChatGPT can be like very convincing. You can say, can you tell me if this bike is good for a 14-year-old? And then it'll give you a million reasons why. And then you can say, can you tell me why this bike is bad for a 14-year-old? And then it'll give you a million reasons why. It's kind of like what you want it to tell you, it will tell you, right? So I would be cautious and probably not use AI for verification. Now, it's not wrong to do a Google search, right, of the scam you're talking about, right? Because chances are there's going to be some other people out there that have also been scammed or are aware of the scam that might put out some information regarding it. One thing like I can think of, right, is you talk about romance scams. We talked about romance scams. There are images out there that they use over and over and over, right? So some of these images, if you copy it and you paste it in Google, there will be chats and Reddit threads alerting people to that.
One of the scam I got from Instagram is like an army chick. The scammer used her picture and then she kind of posted publicly to kind of advise the internet. This is actually my real account. This is the only real Instagram account that she have, and actually raised a lot of awareness. A lot of people aware that is actually. I think I'm not sure if the scammer got doxxed or something, but it's like from Asia or something. The scam, it's their job, so they would be cam out for you, for that chunk of money. They ask you to send products like morale support products, and that's that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. To answer your question specifically, when it comes to like getting money back from like class actions, I think you have to contact the organization or the law firm that's handling it directly, right? And when I say directly, I don't mean like the phone number they put on the paper that they send to you, right? It's like if it's AT&T that is paying out on this class action lawsuit, there has to be some representative for AT&T that can answer your question regarding how you can be involved in that class action lawsuit. And yeah. And that goes, Detective Ortiz is reminding me, but it's kind of a blanket answer for all verification, right? If it's any company that's attempting to, or organization that's attempting to contact you, going directly to them is going to be your absolute best response. If it's the IRS, I know they're very hard to get a hold of, but we got to find a way, If it's...
So I had an IRS question last year. I Googled fastest way to get a hold of customer service, and there actually is, as weird as it sounds, there's a 1-800 number, and I'm not telling you by memory because I don't remember, but it was like you press this button, you press this button, and you press this button, and then it'll take you to a customer service person. I think I waited 10 minutes. So there is a way to get to a person, but I had to Google the answer. Because there is a prompting that if you follow it, because they give you so many promptings. There's like 10 different options, then there's 10 for those, and then 10 for those. But I did that. So, but again, going back to what Officer Rodriguez just said, is going back to the source to verify what you are seeing in front of you. So instead of contacting the information on the sheet or the email, actually go to the source, the bank, the IRS, the DMV, fill in the blank. That's another way you can verify is this is real or not.
Oh, hi, officers. My name is Henry Pang. First of all, thank you for coming here today. I find this very informative and helpful. Thank you. Now, I have a question. As everyone is aware, the AI technology is so advanced today, so our personal data can be easily collected for scam purpose. For instance, they know I'm going to Costco. They know I have a bank account with Bank America. So these techniques can be so sophisticated. Now, I go to the Cantonese congregation. So we have a congregation members who are elderly folks who are not, English is not their first language. So they will become even more vulnerable. So my question is, in addition to the scam awareness, is there any identifier? Now, for example, when I went to the Apple store, the guy told me that, oh, well, if this is real, if this is legitimate, you will have that four-letter code, four or five-digit code when you receive a text. So is there something like that, such an identifier that will help our congregation member to know, forget about this, but this is too obvious, it is a scam, or any additional advice that you will have for us? Thank you.
Appreciate the question. I hope I answered it correctly because I might have heard two questions, but I'll and let me know if I didn't answer it. So there are proactive ways to protect your identity. I'd rather not endorse one or the other, but there are some out there like LifeLock, there's Xander Insurance, and those are the ones that I know of that they actually will protect your identity should something come up with your social security number or the personal identifying information. So you're mentioning breaches. Unfortunately, they do happen. So you'll get phone numbers, addresses that are leaked out to the public, and scammers end up using those to try to start the process with the text messages, with the emails, with the phone calls. But I know that's the first part of the question I heard. I don't think I caught the second one. Did I answer that one, or was there another part to that?
Yes, you did.
I think I might be onto your second part. So the way to spot it, right, is going to change. It's going to change for the organization. It's going to change for the company. It's going to change for the bank on how they do business, right? Which is why I understand the language barrier can be an issue, right? There has to, but it kind of comes back to that same verification, right? And I don't know, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna change for all the banks, right? So I can't say that there's a certain way that they do verifications, or, they change it so often. I mean, I know there's, Face ID with some things. There's sometimes they send you a text message, right, with a verification code. I would really find some way to communicate with that organization or that bank to find out how they properly do business, so then you can relay that to whoever that is. If it's Bank of America that they bank with, have someone who speaks English go into Bank of America, find out how they maybe do their two-step authentication, so you can then tell people that, oh yes, this is proper. This is actually happening the way it's supposed to, right? But it's very hard to say that there's any specific ways to spot. We did have the text, the email, right? And who it's from is going to be a big key, right? But I know, there was a Wells Fargo scam going around where they were actually calling from Wells Fargo's real number. So it's very hard, So you really have to contact that organization directly. Is the best way, hang up and then call them back. Don't let them call you. You initiate the contact back to the organization, the number, email that you find.
So I have a follow-up question to what Officer Randy, I almost called you Pastor. Officer Randy just mentioned about LifeLock. Actually, when you watch TV, right, there are all these different services that come up on how we can protect all of your information. And my question is, take LifeLock, for example. In order for them to protect all of my information, I have to give them all of my information to protect. And Officer Rodriguez earlier mentioned that, you know, not every employee lives up to the organization's mission. All it takes is one person in that organization to come across all of my information and decide to do something with all of my information. So what do you think about, you know, signing up with such services?
That's a really good question, and I appreciate it because it's taking the initiative to really verify before you give anything away. So I can tell you only from my experience, because you do have to be in a place where you're comfortable and believe that the company you're reaching out to is credible. So that's one, and that goes for almost any kind of service you go for. You want to make sure it's a credible service. So LifeLock has been around for a while, and again, I'm not endorsing one or the other. Xander Insurance has a variety of insurance options along with identity protection coverage, and they also are up to date with AI and how to protect your identity, with AI now being a component. Now I can share with you my experience. When I went through the process with one of these vendors, is the person on the other line actually doesn't take down your information directly. They will send you over to a prompting where you input it away from them. So I think, to me, that adds on to the credibility of the company. But again, it started off with, they're a credible company. They're paying thousands, if not tens of thousands, for publicity and advertisement. And then they have a LLC. They're verified through the Better Business Bureaus. So you do your due diligence to make sure they're coming off as a good company. And then with my experience, then they go as far as to make sure that these employees also don't actually listen to or access your information when you're giving it to them. Even now, like if I'll call for a follow-up question for my services, they're not asking me for my social, they're not asking me for my personal stuff. They're asking for some authentication, like my home address or my phone number. And I already have the vouching done with the credibility, so it's like, all right, I'm okay with that when I call their customer service. So that's more me just sharing you my experience with one particular vendor, how that particular employee doesn't have direct access to my information when I'm setting up my account. But I started the process before I even called them, which is they're a credible business, this is what they're about, and then I do, obviously I'm always taking the risk, but it's one of those things where I've done my part to at least alleviate some of that risk.
The person that you first contact does not get to collect or expose all that information. My underlying, if you want to call it paranoia, that's fine. I guess my underlying paranoia is that previously my information, a piece of it is here, like let's say if I have a Bank of America account, my info is with Bank of America. If I have some other credit card, Hyatt Visa, well, my information is with Hyatt Visa. It's very well disseminated, right, throughout different organizations that has bits and pieces of my information. If I was to give all of that to one organization like LifeLock or Anders Insurance or whatever it is, now it's all centralized in one place. Granted, the person who answers the phone is not the one that is collecting or has access to the information, but I guarantee, well, I cannot say I guarantee you, but let's just call that a biased opinion. I guarantee you that someone, the programmers in the organization, can access accounts and all of the information in various accounts. I used to work for an organization I would not name the name of. When I first showed up working at a company, I was so surprised one day I pulled up a file. Oh my God, I have all of the people who work in this company. I have their name, address, social security number, and credit card numbers. I'm not even a programmer. And I was able to pull out these files. So now I worry about, well, what about a company like LifeLock? They must have tons of programmers work there because that is kind of what the company is all about, right? So I'm just nervous about centralizing all of my information into one place. On one hand, yes, if it is perfectly legit and reliable, that's great. But at the same time, it only takes 1 or 2% of risk for all of my information to be exposed. That's kind of what my thought process is.
And I respect you trust your gut. This is for everyone here. If your gut doesn't feel comfortable, then don't do it. If you don't feel comfortable with the business or the company, I'm not here saying you should have identity protection. I'll encourage it. I've had good outcomes from it. I've had mine for over 15 years now. I've had the calls where there was some suspicion, and I'll get notified, and I feel like it's helped me, but that's my experience. I don't want you to go against what you feel is comfortable for you. One thing that I will say might help ease the concerns. In the police department, we have access to sensitive information, and we have to go through a process to be verified as people that can access this information, which includes testing, credentials, and also understanding consequences if we violate any of the trust that we have. So, in other words, we have access to sensitive information, but we also have high stakes if we violate the trust that we have with the access to that information. And anyone who wants access to that information, if it's another company or another police department, the state of California actually mandates them to be compliant with the California Department of Justice with understanding the expectations. Now, I say that just so you can get some insight on the expectations for us. I would encourage you to also challenge the companies that you might consider and ask them, how do you mandate the people that have access to this information and hold them accountable if they breach that trust? So just something to think about. So in other words, there's a high standard for us to have it. I would presume they would also, and maybe check in and see if they'll give you answers that will help calm the concerns that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I actually have 2 questions. My 2 banks, my insurance and my hospital, were all hacked, and they told me that I was now on the dark web. I was just wondering, is there any way I could get off that dark web?
I do have something for that, Alex.
So that's actually a very unique question. As far as steps that you can possibly take, I know the IRS, for example, you can actually request a PIN from the IRS before you file your taxes. And again, it's one of those second authenticator verifications before you file your taxes that you have to have this PIN available for your accountant or for whoever does your taxes so that they know that it's you. Another one is also to contact the 3 credit unions, Experian, TransUnion, and I can't remember the Equinox. Is it Equifax? Equifax, sorry. Yeah. Equifax, right? You can put a flag on your account. So if there's anyone trying to open up a credit card, open up a bank account, take out a loan under your name, right? They're unable to because there's a flag on your account. And even if you want to do it yourself, you won't be able to. You'll actually have to contact the 3 credit card companies and verify that it's you before you can do any other proceedings. So those are just some simple steps that you can take. As far as getting off the dark web, I don't have an answer for that, fortunately, unless my partners do.
Right. And my second question is this. My friend uses Chrome as her search engine, and she opened an article in Chrome, and immediately a pop-up message appeared, and it said, "A hacker has stolen your ID. You have 3 minutes to restore it. Press here." And she just, without thinking, pressed that button, but she immediately realized it was probably a scam. So she tried to delete the search bar, but the message wouldn't go away, so she called her daughter, and her daughter said to delete the Chrome app. And then after she deleted the app, of course, the message didn't reappear. My friend's question is, did she expose herself to risk after clearing the search bar and deleting the app? I mean, was pressing the button already giving them a back access to her info?
So the answer is, I don't know.
Oh.
Because there's a lot of different things they can utilize clicking on something can do, right? I can't definitively say what exactly they were after. You know, I know sometimes on a desktop that can be providing remote access. So someone can go in and open new windows and maybe you're automatically signed into your bank account on your desktop. Sometimes people have, you know, a password that like auto generates. So when you click that link, they provide remote access and then they can access your computer. Sometimes they can be looking for a lot of different information, and we don't really know what that is based off of what you're saying. But I think bringing that up kind of is a good point, right? What did they do? 3 minutes, gave you a time frame, created a sense of urgency, created fear, right? And created that time limit, and then she was afraid, so she acted within that time limit that they asked for, right? I think, yes, I think just deleting things is a good idea, but I think what Detective Zhang mentioned, if you're very, very concerned that your information is out there or that you've done something, then I think it's really, you know, monitoring at that point. Changing passwords is good to do very often. Probably doing something along those lines, maybe changing all of your passwords, setting those authentications on your credit, you know, for the extreme cases like the IRS or credit card, the credit organizations, I think are some good options. But based off of that, it's hard to say what they were after exactly.
There's one before you pass, Alan.
I actually want to jump on that a little bit.
So this happened to me recently. I was on actually a Bible website. There are a lot of websites that has advertising, and these they probably, you know, I'm not sure how those advertising gets on the website. Maybe there's a third party that sells them or makes a transaction for them. But I believe what happened was some of those ads may be malicious. So I go to this, I've been using this Bible app website for a long time, but they do have advertising. And then one day, a pop-up opened. It didn't happen before, but that day it did. It says that, you know, AT&T is doing a random gift, a selection of 1,000 customers to receive a gift, and you've been selected. You click here to receive it. You can choose, you know, their iPhones, there are all sorts of other. And I'm going, wait, this doesn't make sense. How do they know that I'm an AT&T customer? So I closed the browser. So my point is, it's not necessarily Chrome that is doing the bad work. It could be the advertising that some of these sites, they may not even know themselves that a hacker has leveraged the advertising mechanism on their page to perform scams. And so whenever we visit websites that has a lot of advertising around, those are websites that we have to be careful of. Yeah. And I went back to the website, and then I saw the same thing again. Then I realized, hey, this is too, there's a pattern to this. Was there another question?
So one of you mentioned that there's an internal phishing test that claims that they want to correct PTO discrepancy. So I like learning what the professionals have to look out for. Can you give any other examples of tricks the red team uses?
I think part of it is going to come down to knowing the baseline of your company or your organization. So in other words, what is the normal flow of emails? And we don't get those emails at all. And most of the time, we get a heads up that something's coming down the pipeline that we all need to know about. Just so some context, we actually had a virus hit back in 2020. 2020 was an interesting year. Our city got hit, bad. And so after that situation, we had some issues for like almost 2 weeks? No computers? Like a week, 2 weeks? Oh, that's true. You're still in college. So that's how long I've been around. 2 weeks, no computers, and our department had to learn. We have to teach our people not to click on certain things, and that's how the phishing emails came up internally, to try to teach our folks how to recognize these things that are out of the ordinary. So it may be internal with a certain thing they're doing just to get you to click on it, but we've actually had emails come through that were phishing from outside of the organization, and it came down to doing what we saw earlier. Check the sender. If it looks like a sender with a domain name that doesn't match up with what you're seeing, that's one clue. The other is, again, going back to what kind of emails are you getting regularly, and does this match what you normally get? Our department's emails allows us to report phishing emails also. So if we're wrong, we'll learn later on. But if we're better off taking the other route of not taking the chance, so we'll report it as phishing. It goes to our IT department, and they're the ones that can verify if there's something else that's off. So that's how internally we've handled it. But either which way, we report it as phishing, and then they do the final work on that end. But on a side note, I have laughed very loud because I've been in an office with 10 other people, or actually more like 13, and you'll know in our office when someone clicked on a phishing email, because the first words out of their mouth are not nice. And then the words after that is, I gotta do a training. So some have fallen for it. So it's not just in this room. It does happen, right? It does happen.
I fell for one at work. It uses my boss's name. With a one-liner, Henry, can you put the presentation you show me in this folder? Link. Steve, that's my boss's name. I'm like, click. Fear, right? Boss. I'm like, oh.
Great
Yeah.
point. Great point. Great point.
Yeah. All right. How are we doing?
Oh, yeah, sorry. First of all, officers, thank you so much for risking your lives daily to protect our Daly City community. Woohoo! And I just wanted to say, may God and our Lord Jesus continue to protect you and give you wisdom to bring about justice for those who have been scammed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just want to say that most people are scammed because the scammers approach them. But I managed to bring myself to a scammer, and I just wanted to warn all of you. One time I received some questionable, like Apple charges, but it was actually my son. But I called Apple right away. The first thing I did was Google, Apple's phone number. And the first number that popped up, I thought for sure was Apple. So I called them, and they asked me to verify all my information, and I gave it to them. And then I thought I was a logical person, but they also asked me to download an app, which I did. And then after that, they said, okay, share your screen now, share it. That's what prompted me to think, okay, something is wrong. So I just wanted to let you all know now, when I try to look up like Chase's phone number or any other company's phone number, you normally Google it. But I think we better just go onto the company's website to look for their number. So I was laughing at myself, like you were laughing, I brought myself to them by Googling their number. So just a heads up. And
That's
any
a
other
really good
advice
point.
you might have.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
No, I did. So that's actually interesting that you bring that up, right? That kind of goes back to some of our different personality traits bring us and make us more susceptible to certain scams, right? And understanding you're someone who's very organized, clearly, wants to fix exactly what is wrong, right? And you're like, there's something going on with my Apple, right? I need these charges I don't recognize. You're obviously looking at your charges often to notice that. And, I'm going to fix it. And you go out and, right? And then what happens, right? But I think that's interesting because depending on what your personality type is, there's scammers available to kind of play into that, right? And feed off of that, so.
Thank you again for coming to speak. We really appreciate you being here. I'm curious, I work with the youth at our church. I'm curious what kinds of scams or vulnerabilities that you're finding for, particularly for teenagers, middle schoolers, or even kids younger. We know that technology is, a lot of families are giving technology to their kids at younger ages. So I'm just kind of curious what you guys have seen or found.
That's a really good question, because I had a few cases with teenagers specifically. This content is still good for teenagers. It's still good for them because I'm sure some of them have debit cards, some of them have bank accounts, so their social is already being used. So this content is relevant for them. But now the other area that I think it's important, and I want to be sensitive how I mention this case. So this is what I've seen is, especially for young boys. So hormones are kicking in, and values are different. Some boys may not necessarily value the sense of purity, or they may not have learned it, or they're still in the process of understanding what that means. So where I've seen some teenagers fall into it is where there's an attractive female on the other end of a text, on a message on Instagram, TikTok, or something along those lines, and they think they're talking to a very attractive female, and from there conversations go, and then where some of the teenagers fall prey to this is they'll send pictures of some private areas that they can no longer get back. And again, I'm not saying adults haven't done this either, but specific to teenagers, this is where I feel like they're not seeing the bigger picture. And hormones are leading the way, and decisions are being made that can't be pulled back, and then next thing you know, there's something out there. Because then what happens is these people that are usually from out of the USA ends up extorting them. And now you have a shame, embarrassment, and fear kicking in because they're threatening to post their picture on the internet, and that has led to some of them having to get gift cards or other means of payment, and now it starts turning into an extortion. And so that's something that I've seen with teenagers because of that hormonal gratification. I guess you can probably keep it the best way I can say it. They're fulfilling the lust of the flesh, and then that falls against them. So that's what I've seen. So it would be being mindful of what kind of images they're sharing. And I'm sure as the youth pastor, you probably already had some conversation about, in general, posting on the internet. And so they might already be cautious in that area. It's the intimate conversations where they think they're talking to a particular person that they have fallen susceptible to that.
So I think we'll take one more question. I want to respect everyone's time because we said the event will end at 4. If the officers will be around, maybe we can do questions afterwards as well. But let's take one more question, and then we'll close out Q&A. Edie has a question. Okay.
That's out of so many scam case, right? You guys deal with so many anthropological process scams. So which case is most frequent out of all we talk about, all we cover, from your experience on the field?
Out of all of them, is probably going to be the phone scams, where people are claiming to be the PG&E is usually a big one. PG&E, because they're going to cut out your light bill, water bill. Usually those are the ones that I've seen more frequently because it's something that we all usually need in our home, right? And then what the red flags for those usually are is they'll want you to go get a form of currency in the form of a gift card, Apple Pay. So those are the big red flags for that. So those are the most common. Phone scams, to get gift cards, currency through the phone. That's most common.
I got the scam call. Usually my company or also the relative, you already on my scam, on my phone book. And I see those call I know is scam, not come from, usually I very fast better in that way, and then they come out block and delete. If I block and delete, nothing happen, right?
If
I
you just
always
block and
do
delete
that.
the number? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
nothing happens.
that's why I think my whole too complicated. Data computer I have to do that. Senior, they don't know. I just tell my husband, whatever not come from your phone book, just get in this way, block and delete.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, good practice.
And before my husband, he don't listen to me. He said, that 4, 4, 4, 4. They said Chinese
Yeah,
is like a 4, 4.
it
That means
happens.
they said that means they don't care what you say. You respond them, they continue call. Then later, how come you let scam call? And I said, no. If we're important people, you're already in your book, right? Something never emergency. You just go in this way, block and delete. Don't answer so
Good, that's good
Yeah.
practice. Good
Yeah,
practice.
that's why I say very important for the senior.
Yeah.
Don't need to scam too much. Just go to block and delete.
And just curious, how long have you been married now? How long have you been married?
Huh?
How long have you been married?
30 years.
Congratulations. I just wanted to highlight that. That's great. I love it. I just wanted to highlight that. I love it.
All right, we're going to close out the Q&A session first of all. Thank you, Detective and Officer. You know, what a joy to have you guys here. You know, I learned a lot for sure. I just have some short announcement from the church. Maybe, you know, if you were to stay or help yourself to a pastry.
Yeah, stick around for a bit.
Yeah, okay. All right, so just a few announcement from the church. We have some slides, right? Yeah, so first of all, I hope all of you are not just feel more informed today, but feel more empowered to protect both yourself and your loved ones. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, we're always here trying to serve the community. So we'll really appreciate if you can do this QR code. It's not a scam. It's not going to take you to. If you can just spend like 3 minutes, you know, telling us what you like, what can be improved, we will really appreciate. So you can take a picture now, and I'll bring this back up later. Really, you know, to do these events is really for all of you. So we'd love to hear from you for any feedback and comments. All right. All right, we'll bring it back up again. Okay, October 31st, this is our epic annual event. It's our Harvest Fest. You see free raffle, free everything, right? The free candy is epic. We do a piñata that spins out all the candy. You know, that's my highlight for coming to this event. So if you're in the community, you know, mark your calendar, October 31st. And then if you are looking for ways to connect, you know, we're here. We have 3 congregations, Cantonese, English, and youth. Again, another QR code that is not a scam. And you can always talk to one of us for more information if you want to connect with us. And can we go to the next one? We'll bring this up. Okay, I think there's a short church video that we wanted to, you know, especially show our visitors. Let's roll it. not least, I just want to quickly introduce the senior pastor of our church, Pastor Alan.
Hello, everybody. Thank you once again for coming to this event, and actually really thank you, officers, for doing this for us. We can't appreciate you enough. Thank you for all you do. And I think with that, I think that's all we have for today. You are dismissed, and have a wonderful rest of the day and the whole week. And also, we have a ton of cupcakes out there, so help yourself to some coffee and cupcakes before you leave.
Can we bring the QRO back up, the survey? And if all of you can just take 2 minutes to do this before you help yourself to the cupcake, I will keep you entertained for 2 minutes, okay? Because I have a question for Officer Ronaldo. So do the survey while you're listening. Officer Ronaldo, this is an unrelated question, a more lighthearted question. I always admire all the gear that officers wear. I was gonna ask Officer Zhang, because he's more geared up than you, but he left already. Can you introduce what do you guys carry?
Sure. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I know, and believe it or not, I actually go pretty minimal. Some guys carry a lot of stuff. So I guess just kind of from top to bottom, this is kind of our standard uniform. We always have patches on each shoulder. The 2 stripes in Daly City dictates that says that you're in a specialty position. So when Randy has his uniform on, detectives have 2 stripes, school resource officers have 2 stripes, traffic officers have 2 stripes. So when you're in a specialty position, we get 2 stripes. Some other departments call them corporals. We don't have corporals. The hashes dictate how many years you've been in law enforcement. You get 1 hash for every 5 years. So I'm at 9, so in next year I'll get 1 more. Let's see, and then we got our radio. Always have a radio on. That's what we communicate with our dispatchers on. And I talked about that digital map. This is kind of how we communicate that. We put ourselves out on different types of calls, whether it be a traffic stop, talking to a person, and we tell them who we are, where our location is, and what we're doing. And then we have 2 pens, because one either runs out or you give it to someone and you lose it. So it's always 2, not 1, 2 pens. Over here, we just have our name tag on this side, and then we'll put whatever else. Sometimes if I have a SWAT pen, I'm on SWAT team. Sometimes if you are a field training officer, it'll say FTO. If you've gone through crisis intervention, it'll say CIT. And then we always just have the American flag on top. And then kind of the belt, really going around in the circle. Some guys wear the exterior vest. It has a lot of pockets. And when you have a lot of pockets, you put a lot of stuff in your pockets. So I don't like to have that many pockets. I usually, on this side, this is what seems like just a bunch of papers in a little clip, is actually kind of like everything that I might need if I was to work on patrol. Not everything, but this would cover 70% of some of the paperwork I would need. It's different case cards you can write case numbers on, write people's information down, any kind of form I have kind of folded up here. And then just going around the belt, I have in the front, I just keep 1 pair of handcuffs in the front. Some people carry multiple. Like I said, I go light because it's a long career. You work crazy hours, and I just try and keep as much weight off of me as I can. Then I have a little keeper here where I can clip keys onto. This is a tourniquet. We often carry multiple tourniquets. I carry more tourniquets in my car. This one specifically we carry on the front of our firearm, and this one's supposed to be for us. And then we have our department-issued firearm here. Back here, I have it's called a keeper. It's a key keeper. It's kind of, if you jump around, you can hear the keys jingling. If you lock it up, then you can't hear the keys. That's just to keep quiet. Let's see. And then we got 2 extra magazines. That's just ammunition. I carry 2. Some carry 3. Again, I like to kind of go light. This is our taser. We carry tasers here in Daly City. Actually, Detective Ortiz is our lead taser instructor. Baton and radio, and then in the back I carry pepper spray here in the back. That's kind of
body camera,
that's kind of it.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then we all have to wear our body cams. That's mandatory. I don't have it on right now. It's not recording. But that is something we keep on. And then we all wear a bulletproof vest. I wear mine under my uniform, and then the exterior vests act as one, like Detective Zhang had. And then Star with our badge number on there. Yeah, I'm hot right now, actually. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always thought, how do the officers chase thieves down the street with all that stuff? But I guess officers don't really chase. You get in a car.
We do. I've run in this, and I kind of, this is like I'm going on almost, on like 9 years. So it's like you're gonna refine it over the years. You're like, all right, this fell off a lot. So when I run, so let's tighten that up. Or this falls off all the time. Let me not put it there, right? And you figure that out. So I've kind of got a system now where it's like everything's pretty secured. So I could totally like run around the block right now and probably not lose anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Has been.
All right. Thank you very much. Please help yourself to. The pastries are really good. It's really good looking. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to get one. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Thank you.